Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to be reacting to the top 10 most You know what, I'm going to keep that in because that is quite funny that I just cannot speak properly at all, ever. I swear I've got dyslexia or whatever it's called because I don't know how to say it. Secluded is the correct word I'm looking for. It took me a while to remember it, but yeah, the top 10 secluded towns in the United States of America. So there we go. That's what we're reacting to. If you have been enjoying my content recently, make sure to hit that like and comment down below, as only 94% of you guys are currently not subscribed who watch my content. So if you do enjoy my content and would love to, you know, help me along the way of reaching my goal of 1,000 subscribers, it'd mean the absolute world to me if you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you know exactly when I upload next, which at this point is every single day. And before we get into the reaction, let's just ignore this. I know I'm pointing it out, but for some reason I just had a breakout and it's bad. It's really bad. It looks disgusting, so I apologise. Without further ado, let's get into reacting to this. I am quite interested in this one.
Hey, welcome back everybody. This is The World According to Briggs, and I'm Briggs. On this channel we do lists about locations, towns, cities, states in the US. And soon we're going to be branching out to other countries. I've been getting a lot of requests about Canada. So last week while doing research on a few of my lists, I came across some very secluded towns in the United States.
Okay, let's get into them.
Some towns in this country are 4 to 5 hours away from any other town or city.
Oh,
we have
wow.
some in Alaska that are even further. All the towns on this list started in these locations for a reason. So we're going to get into it and find out where they are.
Some weird music in the background, I have to say that straight away.
And why they are. So here's my top 10 most secluded towns in America.
Could have used a different font, mate. What is that? Shambles. Oh, animation today's.
Number 10, Red River, New Mexico. The town
That's a funky map.
of Red River sprung up in the 1870s when miners were drawn in by gold strikes in the area. It was named after a red-tinted stream that flows through the center of town. Red River is one of my favorite.
That's an iron, isn't it? If the water is red, it's got like iron in it or copper in it or
Town
something.
names in the whole country. Don't know why. By 1895, Red River was a booming mining camp with gold, silver, and copper in abundance. And the population is estimated to have grown to about 3,000 people.
That's not a lot. That's not a lot.
Mining hit its peak in the late 1800s, and by 1905, the mining for the most part had dried up, and most of the people left. The town turned into a tourist location and a great spot for trout fishing, and later on skiing. The last mining extended till about 1931. By that time, tourism had become the real economic force, and the town survived. This place is a secluded mountain town, and the closest city being Santa Fe, about 2 to 2.5 hours away. There's nothing in between Santa Fe and Red River, and before the comments come flying in, I know they have some small roadside towns along the route. They're just glorified rest stops. Quit typing.
Oh wow. Okay.
Number 9. Caribou, Maine. The first settlers came to what is now Caribou in the 1820s. Between 1838 and 1840, a war flared up between the United States and Canada, and the Battle of Caribou occurred in December of 1838. The dispute
That looks nice.
was over the proper use of the word A. Just kidding. It was about an international boundary. Now, it delayed a settlement of the area till after a treaty was signed in 1842. Now, what makes Caribou so secluded? Well, for starters, it's one of the most northeastern cities in the United States. It's a 3-hour drive from Bangor, Maine. Bangor, Maine isn't even that big, but it's 3 hours away from that.
What is that on the grass?
It does have a few really small towns along the way, but for the most part,
Help feed the...
you're looking at forest out your side windows on your 3-hour drive. And if it's winter, the trip's going to be even longer. Maine is kind of sparse when it comes to people and towns, so it isn't hard to have a secluded town or two. They have a lot of woods out there. They even had a dude living in the woods outside of Rome, Maine, for 30 years.
Wow.
For 30 years, this guy avoided people. Now, there were the occasional sightings and rumors of him, that there was a hermit at what they called North Pond, or North Pond, yeah, that was it. Now, recently, he was arrested for breaking into cabins, and when they interviewed him, he said he hadn't had a conversation with another human being in 27 years.
That is insane.
27 years. Another human being. And he said human being. In that 27 years, was he communicating with forest creatures? What was going on with that dude?
Oh, we have an advert. And no thank you. Number 8.
Number 8. Crested, Butte, Colorado. The East River Valley where Crested Butte is located was once used as a summer residence for the Ute people. The bad news is they were quickly displaced when European Americans first entered the area. And I'm sure
that looks cool.
at some point the Ute people thought, great, white people, there goes the neighborhood. The first white people to explore the valley were beaver trappers. And we all know when people start trapping your beaver, it's time to find a new home. Nothing worse than someone poaching your beaver. Crested Butte is a ski resort town that spans only about a half a mile, maybe a little more. It has about 1,400 permanent residents and is 21 miles away from the nearest small town. And Denver, that's about a 4.5 hour drive. What also makes this place so secluded,
that's quite nice though. That like area looks really nice.
All but one of the roads to Crested Butte get closed during the winter, and it's real easy to get snowed in here. And being snowed in sucks, especially if you
See, that looks beautiful though.
don't have any beaver. Moving on.
It's literally in the middle of nowhere. That is beautiful. There's a bunch of places in England that are just in the middle of nowhere, but they just don't look as picturesque as that. Well, they do in their own way, but not like that, if that makes sense.
Number 7. Point Roberts, Washington. Point Roberts was created when the United Kingdom and the United States settled Pacific Northwest American-Canadian border dispute in the mid-19th century with the Oregon Treaty. Both parties agreed that the 49th parallel would, basically cut the country off. Canada above the 49th parallel, United States below. The downside is, Point Roberts is kind of in a weird place. It's below the 49th parallel, but separate from the United States that way. So you have to actually go up through Canada. Now, over the years, there's been questions about ceding from the United States and becoming part of the Canadian territory. Nothing's really happened with that. Now, I've talked about this place in past videos, and it's one of the places I'd love to retire to. Now, what makes Point Roberts so secluded is you have to cross into Canada, then back in the United States for your 2-hour trip to Seattle, which is the closest major city. So you have to leave the little nipple of land that is Point Roberts, go into Canada, kind of get close to Vancouver, and come back down through Blaine, Washington, and on to Seattle. It's just kind of weird.
Could have showed us a bit more interesting image.
That you have to cross into another country to get here. So that's what makes Point Roberts so secluded. Number 6. Tucumcari, New Mexico. Tucumcari is the actual inspiration for this list. I was doing a list and saw Tucumcari and how far out of the way it was. It just made me think of secluded towns. Tucumcari is truly in the middle of nowhere. Now, I talked about this one before, like I said, and the one thing I didn't talk about was how it's part of the historic Route 66. If you don't know anything about Route 66, it's one of the original highways in the U.S. highway system, and was kind of the only way to get to the West Coast back in the 30s and 40s. What's neat about Tucumcari,
I find American roads so straight. Why are they so straight? Like, everything in America is like blocks and every road is straight and bang on. And in England, windy, windy, everywhere. Every single where.
They really haven't moved that town past the 30s and 40s like the rest of the country. It's kind of stuck in a time warp. You go there and it's just old buildings and extra wide roads like you'd see in old 50s movies. It's weird. Now, it's secluded. The nearest cities are Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's about 2.5 hours to the west. And Amarillo, Texas, which is about 2 hours to the east. And in between there, you have what appears to be filming locations for Mad Max films. Tucumcari,
that's pretty cool though,
is just desert.
I'd love to go to a desert though, even though I am quite scared of them.
Number 5. Nome, Alaska. There's no reason to live in Nome, Alaska unless you're avoiding a subpoena or you've always wanted to live in an igloo. Now that's a quote from the Nome City Hall website. Just kidding. I don't think they have internet, much less a website in Nome, Alaska. The largest city in Alaska is Anchorage. I can't give you the drive time from Nome to Anchorage because they don't have any roads that go from Nome to Anchorage. They only have one road out of Nome, and that's to a place called Teller, Alaska. Why anyone would want to go to Teller is beyond me. There's only about 15 buildings in the whole town. And when I say town, I'm being generous. It's more like a camp. But if you are in Nome and you ever contemplate driving to Teller, know that the roads are only open about 4 months a year. They close it down for winter, which, if you know anything about Alaska, seems to be most of the year. But if you do need to get to Anchorage, it is about an 1.5-hour flight from Nome to Anchorage.
Reduction for immune support.
Also, if you heard that song, it is my flatmate.
From stepping on toys.
Alaska.
so I do apologize for that.
Number 4, Ely, Nevada. Ely is the largest city in White Pine County, Nevada. Ely was founded as a stagecoach stop along the Pony Express and Central Overland Route. In 1906, copper was discovered, and Ely had a small mining boom after that. As of 2010, the population was about 4,000 people.
That's so small.
And
These
that's
places
not
have no
counting
one
the
there.
Supermax prison just outside of Ely. Now here's a
nice.
fun fact. This little town has a famous past resident. First Lady Pat Nixon, as in President Tricky Dick Nixon's wife. She was born there in 1912. Now Ely has some other little towns around it, but for the most part, it's far and away from any real
It looks dead.
cities. Las Vegas is about 3.5 hours to the southwest, and Salt Lake City being 3.5 hours to the east. I drove through Ely once. My impression of the place for my brief time there was that Ely has a whole bunch of senior citizens. And I'm not talking just there was a lot of them. There was a whole bunch, as in 90% it seemed like, in my brief time there. Now, I didn't spend a whole bunch of time, maybe a couple hours. Every single person I saw downtown Ely, including a little park there, was a senior citizen. I saw one person under the age of 40, and I think he was a cop. So, if you like bingo, you hate traffic, and you like to be near prisoners, you might want to move to Ely.
Wow, and there's nothing there then.
Number 3, Nya Bay, Washington. Nya Bay is the Macaw Reservation in Washington. The population was about 865 back in 2010.
So small,
Now, it's
so
across from
secluded,
the Canada-U.S. border in British
can't get over
Columbia.
it.
This is the most northwestern town on mainland United States. It's the far northwest you can go. And before you comment, Alaska is not on the mainland. Quit typing. The local economy is sustained mostly by fishing and tourism, and during the summer, Nya Bay is a popular fishing area for sports fishermen. The big draw to this place is nature. This place has some of the best hikes in the whole Pacific Northwest. This place is really out there. The closest town is almost 2 hours away, and that would be Port Angeles, and that's on a really sketchy coastal highway. Seattle is almost 5 hours away, still along that pretty sketchy coastal highway, and then you gotta take a ferry and go through the woods and some other things. Wear a seatbelt, you're probably gonna hit a deer eventually.
Oh, wow. God, I do think some of the places in America are so beautiful. Like, the landscape just looks so amazing. But it just scares me, because what was if, like, there's animals like wolves and bears and stuff? Again, if you're American and you're watching this, you're probably like, that does not happen that often. I don't know that. I'm used to going for a walk, and I got no worry except from another person.
Number 2, Angle Inlet, Minnesota. Angle Inlet is in Lake of the Woods
Angle Inlet.
County, Minnesota.
Like a tongue
Population is
twister.
only about 60 people, and that's back in the 2010 census.
Oh my
This
God.
community is part of the Northwest Angle, the only place in mainland United States north of the 49th parallel. This place is hard to get to. The first closest small town is War Road, Minnesota, and that's about an hour and a half away. This is another one of those places you have to leave the United States, enter Canada, leave Canada,
Wow.
and enter the United States to get any place. Even in that part of Canada, there's really nothing around it. Now, War Road is just a glorified truck stop like a lot of the places I talk about. The closest small city, I guess, would be Grand Forks, North Dakota, and that's almost 4 hours away from War Road. So we're talking 5.5 hours, 6 hours to get any place.
Wow.
Now, I don't know why
That's
anyone
insane.
would really want to live here at Angles Inlet, unless you maybe like taunting Canadians or something like that. You could always stand on your dock and yell at passing Canadian boats, Hey, you frickin' Canuck, here I am, I'm above the 49th parallel, suck it. You know, I mean, if that's your thing, why not?
Why would you do that? Alright.
Number 1, Barrow, Alaska. Barrow is the largest U.S. city north of the Arctic Circle. Nearby Point Barrow is the country's northernmost point. The location has been home of the Inuit people for more than 1,500 years.
Wow,
This
that's
place
cool.
has no roads in or out of Barrow. Boat, fly, dog sled, those are your only options. This is a place where the snow never melts, the ground is always frozen, and the snow falls midsummer. These are the only people in the world that are hoping global warming is true and would happen faster than it already is. This place is so far north, the sun doesn't come up for almost 3 months during the winter. Imagine having a
Jesus.
one-night stand in the winter, 3 months of awkward morning conversations. Now there's an old joke about Barrow, Alaska. This guy walks into a bar, talks to a girl, she tells him to kiss her where the sun doesn't shine, so he buys 2 tickets to Barrow, Alaska. Barrow, Alaska is a 5.5-hour flight from Anchorage, Alaska, the biggest town in Alaska. And it's about a 2 to 3 month sled ride if you don't like airplanes. Those are your only options in Barrow, Alaska. Barrow, Alaska is the second furthest north town in the world. There's one in Siberia, Russia, that's a little bit further, but that's about it. Barrow, Alaska is the most secluded place in the United States.
That's insane.
Well, that's it. That's my list. That's the most secluded and hardest to get to places in the United States. If you know of any places that I may have missed, leave them in the comments. Let me know about it. Maybe we'll make another list. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave a like.
I don't understand why you'd go there, honestly, because there's what is there that's gonna make you want to stay? It sounds horrible. Jesus, I have no idea what to say to that. Honestly, some of these places are so secluded. I never even thought that you could be that secluded. Honestly, it sounds stupid, but that's insane. That is insane. Anyway guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and a comment down below. Any other videos that you want me to react to, let me know. Or have you got a better video of secluded, like I said the word correctly that time, secluded towns or whatever, that would be good. I'd watch that as well. And yeah, before I end the video, I do have to quickly say that 94% of you guys who currently watch my content are not subscribed. So if you do enjoy my content and you would like to stick around, it would mean the absolute world to me if you hit that subscribe button and also hit that notification bell so you know exactly when I upload next, which is at this point every single day. And yeah, I hope you're all having a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next episode or video. Bye.